listening to SFP Now.
Welcome to another exciting post-pounding episode of SFP Now. Today's guest, we have a very special guest lined up today in the form of Jason Day, who is a pretty well-known stuntman. Actually, he's a well-regarded stuntman. He's done stunts in shows such as Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, 50 Shades of Grey, but I don't think he's going to want to talk too much about that. I don't know. I might ask him about that. And he's also he's in a new film with Dwayne Johnson, which is called Skyscraper, and he gets to beat up Dwayne Johnson. So as far as I'm concerned, anyone that gets to beat up Dwayne Johnson is got to be pretty cool. So without further ado, we're going to bring Jason Day on. Okay, I'd like to welcome a stunt performer turned actor, Jason Day, to the show. He's doing a lot of exciting stuff at the moment. Welcome to the show, Jason. It's great having you on.
Thanks, Ian. I appreciate you having me on today.
It's cool. I'm really happy to have you on. It's going to be, I'm really being excited about this for most of this week. Because you've done a lot of stuff that I happen to watch and enjoy. That's on the television. I love the action genre as well as the science fiction and superhero genre, and you've done all of that, so it's really cool. But getting to the beginnings of it, it says in your bio that you actually grew up in Alberta, which I've got to say, it has some gorgeous countryside from what I've seen on the TV. What was it like to grow up there, and did the outdoors life kind of prepare you in any way for the stunt work that you do?
I love growing up in Alberta. I mean, I grew up on a small farm kind of in the middle of nowhere at the base of the kind of Rocky Mountain foothills. So I had a very kind of, I guess, humble and small town upbringing. I guess when I was a kid, I didn't appreciate just how beautiful the country was. But looking back, and I get homesick all the time when my parents send me photos of the farm and sunsets and the prairies. It's it was a very good place to grow up at. And growing up on the farm, I think just the physicality of day-to-day life may have prepared me a little bit for the career path I've taken. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's beautiful countryside, and you got so much going on in the outdoor life there as well. I mean, I'd actually love to visit Alberta from what I've seen on the TV and various movies that have been filmed there.
Oh yeah, the film industry is definitely taken off there. It's just you can't beat some of the scenery. I mean, you have the Rocky Mountains right there. You have massive wheat fields everywhere. It's and then obviously in the winter, you have the snow and the ski hills and that. So it lends itself to many genres in the film industry.
Mm-hmm. What was it that actually appealed to you about doing stunt work? And are there any heroes in the form of past stunt performers turned actors that are a particular inspiration to you?
It was a good... for me, to get into stunts was a good transition from being a professional fighter. It was, you have the same physicality and the same training and the same discipline it takes to be a fighter. It transfers well into the stunt world. So it's kind of a natural progression for me. And I've been very fortunate to make the break into it. There's a couple guys here in Vancouver that have made the transition from stunts into acting. Daniel Cudmore, he actually played Colossus in the X-Men. He's done well. Dan Payne is another stunt guy that turned actor. So I mean, there's a few guys here that definitely paved the way.
Cool. So you started out as was you an MMA fighter or something? Mixed martial artist?
Yeah, mixed martial arts. I fought for the better part of a decade until I was about 33 years old. And then at that time I started transitioning into stunts after my career ended.
That's so cool. I'm going to have to ask my nephew about you, because he loves mixed martial arts. He watches it all the time. So,
well, yeah.
It's
been a few years since I've been in the cage, so hopefully he remembers me.
I think he probably will. He's been watching it for about probably 10, 15 years now.
Okay.
He does martial arts himself, but he's actually in the army, so he's kind of very physical guy himself.
Yeah, of course.
Looking through the work, your work that you've done quite a bit on the CW shows in terms of stunts and stuff like that. And you've actually appeared in 3, I think. You've appeared in Arrow. You did some Arrow last year. You did Legends of Tomorrow, and you also did The Flash, I think.
Yeah.
Could you talk us through a little of what you've done in those shows from the stunt point of view?
It's funny. I've done so much different things on all the shows, and then also Supergirl's shooting here now too. So I did some work on that. Most of the time I'm playing a bad guy that's about to die, or get thrown through glass, or something. The joke is, if you see one of the stunt guys on screen, somebody's about to die.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I mean, it's I've got to do such a wide array of stunts on those shows. They're the action packed. I mean, they're making a name for themselves here. As far as the CW, they're blowing it out of the water. I mean, I think Arrow's in season 6 or 7 now. I could be misquoted, but it's been a blast. They're definitely fun shows to work on.
Yeah, well, I think Arrow, you're right, Arrow is in season 6 now, but they've actually got it listed as already having a 7th season on IMDb, so I'm kind of assuming that means they've been picked up already for another season after this year.
Yeah.
But they're great shows, and I've got to say the stunt work throughout all the shows is just fantastic and fabulous to watch. And it's come a long way since the 90s as well, because I remember watching sort of like various stunt fights in the 90s, and you could tell that they were how far they were pulling away on the punches in some of those shows back then. You don't see that now.
Yeah, I mean, I think stunts have come a long way in the last couple of decades. The camera work, people are getting a lot better with the camera work, with stabilizers and doing a lot of handheld shots, and it's just like any any trade. It's just it gets better over time, and people develop better techniques, and the more you do it, the better you're going to become at it.
Mm-hmm. Now, your big role this year was Buana Beast in the episode of Freak Show on Legends of Tomorrow. How did you find actually returning to that show, but this time as an actor as opposed to a stunt performer? How different was the experience for you?
It's the same to me. I mean, I think having the stunt background and being on set all the time definitely plays a huge part in being comfortable on set when you get to do the acting roles and being able to deliver your lines. You feel at home. As a stunt guy, you're always on set. You know who all the first AD, the second AD. You know who the director is, and it definitely makes the acting roles easier, and it makes it a smooth transition into those. And it was fun playing Buana Beast. I mean, it was a different. it was different because all I obviously had was a loincloth to wander around on set in, but
yeah, we had that.
It was fun though.
You had that cool mask on though. You know, that mask was really cool.
Yeah, they did a great job recreating the character. I mean, to be honest, I didn't know too much about the character when they brought it to me, and then I started looking at him, and it's very cool. They did a great job in recreating him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I had a quick look before, you know, and I think he's popped up in Batman: The Brave and the Bold, and he's also been in the comic books as well. So, you know,
yeah.
But we didn't see the Beast die. So does that mean that we could see you return? Would you want to return?
You know, in the TV land, anything's possible. I definitely, I'd love to see him come back. They haven't mentioned anything to me. You know, I put the bug in the writer's ear and the producers, and you never know. You know, I'm not holding my breath, but I'd love to bring it back early next year or something like that. And you know, you never know. He could bring it. They could bring him back to be a regular on the show.
Well,
I think that might be wishful thinking.
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, and I do know that there's quite a lot of fans that'd like to see him come back, because you know there's been a lot of since seeing you in the role, there's been quite a lot of chatter about it from the fan forums and stuff. So you know,
that's cool. I'll have to dig into it a little bit more. Now that I got a little bit of free time on my hands, I can sit back and do some investigating.
Yeah, it's wonderful having free time.
Yeah.
Another series you featured in that we also enjoy here is Timeless, in which you played a Pinkerton detective. What was that like for you?
It was good. I mean, it was a short little gig for me, but it was fun. Scott Attia was the stunt coordinator on that one, and he's a good guy to work for. So, yeah, it was a neat show to work on. And unfortunately, I think they went back to LA this year. So, yeah, I think I won't get to do it again. But you never know; they could come back. It's some shows bounce back and forth between here and LA, and you never know.
Well, you know, it might come back. I mean, it got cancelled, but then it got picked up again at the 11th hour. Due to a fan
right.
campaign.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, I think it'd be cool. How did you deal with the period dress? I mean, because obviously Pinkerton detective.
Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about any show you're on. You always got some crazy outfit on. I thought those outfits were pretty cool. I mean, some of the stuff you could wear today, like the pants and the hat was something you probably wear today. But I don't know. it was a great wardrobe.
I think one reason a lot of people become actors is so they can wear lots of hats.
that might be true. You know, I got to wear the Wannabeast hat and then the Pinkerton hat.
Yeah, so you've had some pretty cool hats.
yeah, good year for hats.
Mm-hmm. The big thing you've been working on recently is the film Skyscraper, which stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What can you tell us about the film, and what was it like having the chance to duke it out with The Rock?
Oh man, what a surreal experience. I can't say too much about the film, as you know, I can't give anything away, but just working with Dwayne was, so hard to describe. It was such a surreal thing. I mean, once you get to know him, though, he's one of the boys. He's a really nice guy, and he's there to get the job done and work hard and wants things realistic. And it was a pleasure to work with him, and I can see why everybody loves to be around him. He's just his energy is amazing.
When I've seen him in interviews and whatnot, he always seems very positive, very upbeat, and I'd imagine he'd be really fun to hang around with and work with.
Yeah, we didn't get too much time with him on this. I mean, he's such a busy guy. He's got so many projects on the go. He's doing his Under Armour thing, and he's got the guy is just Man, like, I don't know how he does it. He must have a couple extra hours in a day because he's got so many movies going on, and but when we did get to hang out with him on set, I mean, he is a good guy. He genuinely cares about the people he's working with. I had twins during the show, and you could actually see he was so excited for me to become a father, and actually learned my boys' names, and every time we'd come to set, they asked me how they're doing, and so he is definitely a genuine good guy.
Yeah, well, that's awesome that you've had twins. Congratulations, that's really great to hear.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been absolutely amazing.
Now, given that Dwayne Johnson's got a background as a wrestler, I'd imagine that he'd be as knowledgeable as most stunt people about the action work. But what was he like to work with as an actor? Did you get any advice from him about transitioning into acting?
No, I didn't get to chat with him too much about the acting world and that, but he would be a good guy to chat about because he has taken, he's just exploded. He's taken his wrestling career and transitioned into just this massive. He's a Hollywood icon now. He's probably the number one guy in Hollywood as far as movies are going right now.
Well, yeah, I'd actually agree with you. I've actually seen probably several of his films this year.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I think the last one I seen with him in was the latest Fast and the Furious one with since he's come into those films, they've kind of like improved immensely.
Yeah, and I think they're doing a spin-off now. He's getting kind of Hobbs, and I can't remember, but I think him and Statham are having a spin-off movie from the Fast and Furious now. So it's man, he takes things and runs with it.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the most dangerous thing you've ever had to perform?
It's tough because everybody, stunts gets the, reputation of being dangerous, but everything, the stunt coordinators, the performers, everybody takes such detailed precautions to make the things as safe as possible. I mean, probably the most dangerous thing I've done is a jump over a gap. Anytime you're jumping over a gap to where there's no pads below is, you can make it, but if you slip or something like that, things can go wrong. But for the most part, I've been very fortunate and never had any injuries or anything go wrong on set.
Cool. I can get where you're coming from about jumping over the gap. The trick is not to look down, right? It's kind of look at the other side.
The trick is to keep your eyes forward and spot your landing. And I think that's probably one of the coolest looking gags I've got to do. It was in a movie called Dark, so hopefully that comes out in the next year or so, and I could brag about that one.
Cool. Well, you've been doing you've been transitioning from stunts to acting for a while now. Is there actually a dream role that you'd like to play, or a series or movie franchise that you'd love to be a part of?
You know what? I've always wanted to do like a Braveheart. Something, an old period piece. Braveheart's probably one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie, and to be able to do something like that, I think would be a pretty cool experience.
Cool, that'd be awesome. I'm a fan of Braveheart as well. I also like that other one that he did, the Patriot.
Yeah, the Patriot. That's another good one. It's funny, I just watched that I think last month. But yeah, that or even Gladiator. Something like that set in ancient Roman times. Those kind of movies. It'd just be neat to be a part of it. I feel like it'd be a time warp.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad you missed your boat on Spartacus, which was a big TV series a few years back. That was a really good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. It's funny because the stunt coordinator here on Skyscraper, he's the guy that did Spartacus, and he was telling us stories about it. And yeah, it would have been a great one to work on for sure.
What would you say is the most unusual thing you've had to do so far as an actor?
The most unusual thing.
Yeah, as a stunt or an actor.
You know what? Probably the Wannabes character. Like I said, walking around in a loincloth on set all day. It was it was just a weird experience. Every take taking your clothes off and trying to look tough.
Mm-hmm. So 50 Shades Darker wasn't unusual because
No, it was a funny one to be a part of. It was good. We didn't do anything too crazy in that one. I played a bodyguard to the two leads in that, and so we weren't around for any of the crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's just sort of like I was just trying to imagine you in 50 Shades Darker and just thinking, where's the action at? Apart from the obvious.
No, it's there's just a little bit of driving in that one, and it was definitely nothing crazy on that one.
Cool. Well, aside from Skyscraper, are there any other roles that you've booked so far that you're allowed to talk about that you can sort of just say you're in?
I booked. There's a kids show actually called Mech X4.
Cool.
It's a Disney show, and I booked kind of a cool character. He's this crazy MMA fighter that gets in a fight with one of the main characters. So that was pretty cool because it kind of was a throwback to my fighting days, and it was a little different because kid shows it's a little bit over the top with the acting, I guess, and it was really fun to be a part of that.
I bet it was. I did theatre myself years and years ago, and some of the best stuff you do is when you're when you're playing to an audience of kids,
Yeah, because it's fun, and it was a blast working with the cast. They're all preteens, maybe into the 13-year-old, and to get to work with them, they're just so carefree. They just have fun on set, and so it's a good lesson to work with them. Just have fun with it.
Okay, well, Jason, thanks for your time. Thanks for speaking to us about Moana Beast and Skyscraper. Really looking forward to seeing you on Skyscraper, and I also look forward to hopefully see Moana Beast again. Yeah,
me and you both. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Oh, no problem. I've really enjoyed the opportunity. It's
thanks,
something
Ian.
that we don't get to do that often. So, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
This is Mark Wade.
Hi, this is Amanda Tapping.
Hello, I'm Steve Pugh.
And you can catch them all right here on SFP Now.
And I'd like to thank Jason Day for his time there. Now it's time for our TV talk segment with Raissa, and boy, have we got a lot to talk about. Raissa, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Real good.
I'm good. We've got a hell of a lot to talk about here because we've not done one of these in about a month because we've been doing sort of like a bit of standalone stuff here and there. So what should we kick off with? Should we kick off with Doctor Who?
Let's go. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we last did one of these, we've had quite a bit of Doctor Who news come out. Not to mention the trailer which came out for the Christmas special yesterday. We'll start with that, and we'll work our way through, from the newer sort of stuff to the older stuff, right?
Okay.
So, have you seen the trailer yet for the Christmas?
I've seen the clip that came out like yesterday or the day before.
It was yesterday.
The first clip with David Bradley and Capaldi, and it looks epic. It looks wonderful.
I actually quite enjoyed the fact that the first Doctor didn't know who the other Doctor was, and he goes, "Oh, yeah." Yes. I thought that was actually quite funny.
Yes.
Because usually when you have the multiple Doctor stories, they know who each other are.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've not really had the benefit of the first Doctor popping up that often.
No, but I think what that is, apart from anything else, is a sort of meta acknowledgement of the fact that the regeneration conceit only came about at the last minute because of Hartnell's health problems. So he wasn't really involved in that process in the same way that subsequent actors who played the Doctor were. So it's sort of a meta acknowledgement. Yeah.
I mean, I just thought it was funny, and he goes into the TARDIS and goes, "Oh my God, this is my TARDIS." Oh.
There is a wide gulf between the current TARDIS and the original. I actually prefer the original. So.
Well, I like the original. I mean, the TARDIS is something really in the classic show. It didn't really change a great deal from the very very first series right way through to the last episode that they did.
No, they would tweak it, but there were not overarching changes like the ones we've gotten in the modern series. And frankly, I like the classic TARDISes better.
And also the classic TARDIS, it had 2 console rooms, because for a while Tom Baker was using a different console room which was more gothic looking.
Yes, he was.
And then he reverted back to the one that we all know and love. I mean, to be honest, when they brought Doctor Who back, I didn't like the first TARDIS design at all.
It took me a while to get used to it.
I got used to it, but I never liked it.
No. And not enough roundels for a start.
Yeah, and the round things. Yeah. The round things weren't there.
Yeah.
And that was such an iconic piece of Doctor Who, as was seeing his face in the opening credits. When, obviously they didn't have that in the first series with William Hartnell, but they brought that in with Troughton's Doctor Who.
Yes, again, that was a last minute change when they realized what their new internal logic was going to have to be. Yeah.
So I didn't really like those changes they made for the modern series, but I've kind of lived with them. Like I pretty much lived with everything else up until this point. And to be honest, I think Capaldi is probably the best Doctor that they've had, second only to Christopher Eccleston.
Yes, in terms of performance, those were the 2 best. My biggest issue is that the best Doctor they had, which was Capaldi, had crap writing. I wish he'd had stronger writing. I don't think Moffat was focusing to the same extent by the time he was writing for Capaldi, which is sad, because Capaldi is a really good actor. He's a really good actor.
I think the problem I don't think Moffat is as strong as a producer as he is a writer. And I think what happened is when he started having to wear both hats as writer and producer, I think his work kind of went down a little bit. If you look at the scripts that he did in the run prior to him becoming executive producer, I think
those are brilliant classics. Those are classic.
They're much stronger stories than And I think that is the problem, and has been the problem, sort of thing. But talking which, let's move on to the new costume that's come out a couple of days. It's been out a few weeks now, I think.
Yes.
The new costume for Jodie Whitakers' Doctor, and it seems to be harking a little bit back to the days of it's very eclectic. It's got a bit of everything. It's got a bit of the 10th Doctor with the long sort of like trench coat type thing.
Yeah, and it's got the suspenders and trousers of the 2nd Doctor, and the color and the design on her shirt is kind of a nod to the 4th Doctor. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff going on there.
And a lot of people criticising it, saying that it looks kind of too 80s. I'm sort of thinking, so what? I mean, she can wear jeans and a leather jacket for as far as I'm concerned. I'm worried about.
It's what she is once the character's up and running. That matters.
That's my thing, because the costume that they wear. I don't know why they make such a big deal of it, because it sort of like changes every year slightly anyway.
Yes, and plus modern Doctors tend to wear more than one outfit anyway.
Yeah.
So I can't wait till we see her in period costume. Where she's got are we going to see her in a hoop skirt? Or are we going to see her as a flapper? How is that going to work in terms of the full on period costume?
Mm-hmm. I'm sort of like, with the costume thing, I'm not that bothered, and I think the media and the fans make way too big a deal about the costume.
I think part of that is because there's so many cosplayers now. They want to know what they're going to be cosplaying.
Yeah, I guess that is actually a valid point. I mean, personally, I wouldn't be caught dead walking around with what Colin Baker wore.
Oh God, no! Well, Colin Baker didn't want to be caught dead wearing what Colin Baker had to wear. So
And Colin Baker's another guy, a bit like Howdy, fantastic actor. He just got dogged with really bad scripts, and
that's because Grade had a hate on for him. Mm-hmm. There was some behind the scenes crap going on.
Grade had nothing to do with the scripts, so basically.
Yeah, that's true.
To be honest, the scripts in Doctor Who didn't start improving until Andrew Cartmel came on, and then it kind of like, and that was sort of like
toward the end,
sort of like too little, too late sort of thing.
Yeah.
But as far as the cosplayers are concerned and stuff like that, I don't think they've got much to worry about because the costume's going to change anyway.
Yeah. And as long as there's something there for everybody, because the advantage of having 3 companions too is that they'll have more cosplaying opportunities depending on which companion you take to.
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant segue as well.
Yes.
Another thing people are bitching about is the fact that we've got 3 companions. I say take a chill pill because the Doctor had 3 companions in the early days, and it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, the only problem I have with 3 companions is there's the capacity for the Nyssa syndrome, where Nyssa, who was one of my favorite classic companions and sorely underused, because she wasn't written for, and they kind of shuffled her away and focused on other companions. I'm hoping that they're not going to use multiple companions as an excuse to sort of hide the companion that they discover they don't know how to write for. Well, that's the downside.
To be honest, you're talking about an era of Doctor Who where the companions and the Doctor wasn't written particularly well anyway.
That's true.
So like, because when Davison got the Doctor, towards the middle of his season, towards the middle of his time, the script writing was going downhill to such an extent that they actually had to bring Bob Holmes back to write a few scripts.
Yeah.
And then he died. Shortly after doing the 2 Doctors with Colin Baker and stuff like that. It was just sort of like that period of Doctor Who. I mean, I didn't really like any of the companions from that era.
I adored Nyssa, but that's only because I understood what she could have been. And Big Finish understood the value of Nyssa because they've given her some great scripts, but that's Big Finish. They've had a luxury that the classic series didn't have.
She had a great role in Spare Parts.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
She was awesome in Spare Parts, and that's still my favourite Big Finish to this day. But that's because that's the one that introduced me to Big Finish. So I guess I'll always have a soft spot for Spare Parts. But
yes.
We've got 3 new companions. One of them's played by Bradley Walsh.
I actually liked him in Law and Order UK. So.
Yeah, Bradley Walsh, it's a funny one because sort of like he's one of these entertainers which is diverse. He's quite diverse in that he can act and he can front game shows. And
he's older John Barrowman, basically.
Yeah, I've seen him in he was actually in an episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and he was really
that's right. Yeah.
So I've got no worries about Bradley Walsh whatsoever. Although I do know that a lot of people have, but it's because a lot of people are just familiar with him as a game show host. Sort of like those people obviously weren't fans of Law and Order or hadn't seen him. In
and I don't have any problems with the others. Simply even if they're just soap actors, because Jenna Coleman was a soap actress, and even though I didn't like what they did with her character, I never had issues with her performance. So
Jenna Coleman, she came up on Emmerdale. She's moved on from soap to drama. She now plays a young Queen Victoria,
which I love. I love that series. So she's good. She's good.
I like The Crown better on Netflix.
I watch both.
That's a much better show. But we've got Tosin Cole. I've never heard of her. I'm not sure if that's the lady Mandip Gill. That's probably the bloke.
I haven't heard of any of them except for Bradley Walsh. So it's
kind of a funny name, that isn't it? Mandip. If you split it up into 2 words, it's Mandip.
Yeah.
So, so like Jodie Whitakers' 13th Doctor is going for a bit of a man dip.
Oh, God.
Sorry, bad pun.
Oh, God. Oh, okay.
But, I'm quite happy for them to be 3 companions if the writing is good and if you can actually make it as good as it was. For me, the best time when the Doctor had 3 companions was sort of like the Hartnell and Troughton era.
Yes, that's when they knew what they were doing. Yeah,
that is when it worked, and it kind of works a little bit because you had the Doctor, Sarah Jane, and Harry. And
that was I loved Harry. I'm sorry they weren't able to do more with Harry.
Yeah, and then you had the Dr. K9 and Romana, and the Dr. K9 Romana too, Dr. K9 and Nina.
Yes.
You know? So it can work. And,
yes,
you know,
it can be done.
And it's something, you know, I don't think the fans should be concerned about it. I mean, I'm a bit worried about your concerns about Chris Chibnall, because before you start up on that, Chris Chibnall actually did showrun the second season of Torchwood, which was actually much better than the first season.
It was much better. I think part of my problem is that I regard the Big Finish era of Torchwood as such an improvement over all of it, with maybe the exception of Children of Earth, that I'm sort of biased. So so Chibnall could work, because I think and the other advantage is he's not show running multiple series. I mean, Chibnall's whole big thing was, I need Moffat to do the Christmas special because I need to finish up Broadchurch. He wanted to finish one show before he started another, so he's not going to be running multiple shows like Moffat was with Sherlock. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be an improvement right there.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, to be honest, you know, Chibnall is also gone on the record for saying that it was his idea to have a female doctor.
Yes, and I'm going to withhold judgment until I see what he gives us. So
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the same with Jodie Whitakers, though. You know, the stuff that I've seen her in, I've not really been bowled over by her, if I'm perfectly honest. But that's basically partly because I kind of wanted an older woman to play the Doctor.
Yeah, I kind of, frankly, I was hoping that they would get Tilda Swinton, but they're not going to.
They were never going to get Tilda Swinton. She's too Hollywood. I mean, it's like you know, I think Helen Mirren would be a good Doctor Who.
She would, and Helen Mirren might even be up for it if they asked.
I don't think she would, because again, she's too. You know, she's sort of like I don't think Helen Mirren wants to be tied down to another series somehow. But I think she would have been a good enough actress to do the role justice.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of concerns online that you know, Chibnall's trying to appeal to the SJWs and whatnot, and third wave feminism and all this shit.
Which he might be trying to do, I don't know. So we'll have to see.
I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like the big thing will be in the writing. I think what he needs to do to put that sort of thing to bed is maybe have a prominent Time Lord regenerate from female into a male. And that will put that sort of thing to bed.
Yes.
You know? I know that there's probably going to be people listening right now that are going to be screaming sexist, misogynist, because I'm saying, you know, but, you know, tough.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I happen to agree with you. And if it's Romana who regenerates into a man, as long as they don't call her Roman, I'm fine. They need to just name her Fred.
Well, you know, that was kind of a fun thing, because she said, "Oh, just call me Fred." You know?
Yeah. So if they regenerate into her, she's just Fred. Mm-hmm. You know. So if they did that, I'd be fine. I'm not calling her a Roman. That doesn't work. And
I think what they should do, if it's Romana, I think they should actually have her regenerate several times, and you know, have her regenerate into several different women's bodies before she goes into a bloke's body. So as an
homage, you know, to that original scene, yes.
As a homage to the original scene, and kind of like a backhanded homage to Douglas Adams as well.
Yes, yes.
Because a lot of fans don't really consider that regeneration as canon, because it was Douglas Adams messing about. But I think they should just do it.
They should. They should just do it.
Because, you know, it's been so long now. It's been 50-odd years, and we're getting our first female Doctor Who. So if they can give us our first female Doctor Who, they can give us our first Time Lord that can actually choose their regeneration and go through several before settling on one.
Yes.
And I think that would actually, you know, lighten it all up, really. I think. And
there was, and I think they tried to make it canon, because when we go back to the Night of the Doctor, that marvelous webisode where Paul McGann gets his regeneration, the priestess of Karn was saying, you can pick. You know, if you drink this, you'll be a warrior. If you drink that, you'll be something else. If you drink that, you'll be a woman.
Yeah, and you can go back earlier than that to the doctor's wife, where they talk.
Oh, that's right. Yes, and they talked about the one with the tattoo. Yeah.
So, they've kind of tried to bring it in as canon, whereas, it wasn't necessarily canon or not canon before that, because it had never really been touched upon or talked about in the series. And that's where it's kind of like running into difficulties with a lot of the, with a lot of the sort of like people say, oh, no, watch it now, you've got a woman in it. Ooh! And I'm thinking, oh, God, it's a TV show. Not, but it's... it'd be interesting to see if she uses her Yorkshire accent or if she uses RP.
I hope she uses Yorkshire. I like her accent. It's one of the things I like about her. It's a good accent, and I really appreciate the fact that the actors who are playing the Doctor now are allowed to use their native accents, because so many of the classic Doctors, when you hear Tom Baker or Colin Baker or Peter Davison, they said would have loved to have used their native accents, and they had to use RP back then. So having it be liberated like that, where they can have actors with different accents actually use those different accents, is really cool.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, but you're kind of going to run into problems if you cast a Jodie as the next Doctor Who after Jodie Whitakers.
Yeah.
Because that probably won't go over too well with the American market. Because Cheryl Cole got kicked off the X Factor because no one could understand the word she was flipping saying.
Oh. And I think it's because I've spent so much of my childhood watching PBS back when PBS was BBC America before BBC America. I can navigate most of the regional accents fairly well, and I could at a fairly early age.
So we'll get our first glimpse of Jodie Whittaker in the Christmas episode.
Christmas special.
In the last couple of minutes of the Christmas episode, or the last minute, it's going to be interesting to see how that regeneration develops and how it happens, and what.
And they're keeping up the tradition of letting the new showrunner write the first scene for the new Doctor, even in the Christmas special. So it'll be Chibnall who writes that first scene. So we'll have a good sense of of where he's starting with.
I think what they should do to sort of like get a little bit more is not Ginger sort of thing. Have the Doctor go, oh my God, boobs.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just think that'd be so flipping funny.
Yeah.
Although it's probably funnier in my head than it would actually be on the screen. But
probably, it's hard.
I think the kids would love that. Okay. So Doctor Who, moving on to
Star Trek.
Do you want to do Star Trek now, or should we do DC and Marvel stuff?
Well, we can do DC and Marvel. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's save Star Trek to last, I think.
Okay. Before we discuss anything specifically about DC, I want to make a general statement. Because we can leave most of the DC stuff to our folks on DC Action Hour in terms of the specific shows. But I would like to make a general statement about the Andrew Kreisberg situation. Because I don't think Jeff and company are going to cover that much on DC Action Hour.
Oh yeah, has he been suspended or something?
He's been suspended. Yeah, he's gone until they sort out what they're going to do.
Yeah, mate. That's a bit unfortunate. But if the allegations of him having actually done what he's allegedly done do come to true, it's probably the right thing to do. Yeah, they'll switch showrunners easily enough. They'll figure it out. What I would like to discuss, apart from the allegations themselves, because they've been discussed ad nauseum, and various people have made various statements, which I stand with in terms of supporting the folks who've been on the receiving end of these alleged activities. What I would like to discuss is that when I was reading articles about what happened with Andrew Kreisberg, and you get to the comments section of those articles, and you hear how the fans are actually reacting, there's a secondary problem in that whatever happens with the allegations themselves, and there's PR damage, which DC is going to have to cope with, because the fans are talking about the fact that they're looking at characters on these various shows differently, and they're looking at Elongated Man differently on The Flash. They're looking at Mon-El differently on Supergirl,
and their tolerances for these characters are starting to go down even below where they were for the folks who didn't already like them. And so they've got a PR problem that could effectively permanently damage character dynamics if they're not careful.
I've got a feeling Supergirl's on borrowed time anyway.
Well, they're probably going to have to keep it around simply because they're planning to do that whole idiotic, DC streaming service thing. Mm-hmm. So they'll probably keep the shows around just so they can maintain content for that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're talking about bringing Mon-El back.
They are going to bring him back, in, if only to introduce the Legion of Superheroes, which, if he serves no other purpose than that, is a really good purpose to bring him back. But if they keep him around for very much longer, it could get very, very ugly because the fans are not taking the whole thing very well at all, nor should they, because this is ugly. And but the extent to which it actually bleeds through to perceptions of the show and the meta level stuff on the shows is a secondary problem that I frankly don't think that anyone over there fully comprehends yet.
Mm. Yeah, I think we'll see what happens whenever it happens, if it actually does happen. To be honest, I don't want to bring Mon-El back purely and simply because I think, for me, he ruined season 2.
He ruined season 2 for me too. If it hadn't been for The Martian, season 2 would have been unwatchable. And the fact that we're going to have to sit through pulling off the Band-Aid where he comes back in this coming Monday's episode, it's going to be just. I can't even. I don't even have adjectives for it. I'm going to basically be cringing through a lot of it, not because they're basically putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable. They shouldn't be talking about the high school romance aspect of it. They should be talking about the fact that Mon-El got a chance to rebuild his world that Kara didn't have. These are species that are coming off of extinction events, and they should be talking about all of this, getting together as a couple relative to being remnants of an extinction event, and not, the high school romance crap. So, they're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah, to be honest, I've actually liked Kara's character better this year than last year.
She's gotten better.
She's gone back to what she was like in series 1. As in, she's become more humble again. Whereas,
yes.
She was a bit full of herself in series 2, and that just kind of got on my nerves and stuff like that. I just hope that they don't bring Superman back, because I don't want to be reminded about her beating Superman when Superman wasn't in his right mind.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and the fact that they had her gloating that she beat Superman, and I just didn't like that. I just thought I just felt it was unrealistic. In terms of, they've both got superpowers, so they should be equally strong. As in, neither one of them should be able to beat the other one, really. I just felt it was a bit.
It was a bit, but then that's a symptom to me of the fact that the writing in general on that show tends to be a little heavy-handed. So they don't do subtle over there generally.
They don't. They're too on the nose with their politics and stuff.
It's the political stuff they should use for commentary, but they do. And I'm saying this as a liberal Democrat who appreciates that commentary to an extent. They do too much of it. So it's just they need to tone it down.
But talking about, it looks like Ben Affleck could be in danger of losing his cow.
I had heard that. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But
I'm not either. I just seen it. It flashed up on a news feed earlier, and I've not really had a chance to read it from yet. But if he does, it's going to be a shame, because I was actually I've seen him in Batman vs Superman.
He was one of the few good parts. The performance level stuff was absolutely fine. It was the script that was absolute shit.
Well, it was the script and the fact that you basically had Batman versus Batman, because Superman was channeling Batman.
Yeah.
For me, the outright standout star on that was Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot, yeah, she stole it. She absolutely stole it.
She stole it, but she's threatening not to come back as Wonder Woman and stand alone if Brett Ratner isn't sort of like fired.
I think they already fired him by the time that statement came out. I think it was. I think they were on the heels of each other. But I think he's already gone. So
But it's just going to be, sort of like it's kind of affecting all the movies. But I want to talk about briefly The Gifted. Have you seen it?
no, I'm not watching it. I just, not because I don't think it might be good. It's just that I'm not in the mood for the themes. I'm kind of on superhero overload, so I'm limiting myself to the DC shows mostly. So
I just got into it by accident, as in I found it was on. I didn't even know what it was about because I've not really been watching, American trailers and that, because sort of like at the moment my plate's full with Arrow, Flash, and all the other stuff. Bit like you.
yeah.
But then I watched it and I just sort of got into it and I just binge watched the first 6 episodes over a period of two nights. So three of them back to back, and then watched the other 3 back to back the following day. And it's actually quite good.
That's cool.
It's got Stephen Moyer in it from True Blood, and he plays the father of two mutants who sort of like just come out, and he's actually a prosecutor of mutants. He works in the system and he prosecutes them. So when his kids turn out to be mutants, he's sort of like his whole will changes, and it's really been interesting seeing that dynamic change. How he's gone from sort of like a prosecutor and authority figure against mutants to a point where he's actually now living among and working with them. So that's actually really interesting. For me, the weak point is I forget her name. She was in Buffy and all that stuff. What's her name?
Oh, Amy Acker.
Yeah, for me, the weak point is Amy Acker. But I've not really been a fan of hers anyway, so it doesn't.
I liked her. I liked her in Person of Interest. So.
Yeah, she was good in Person of Interest, but sort of like, but she in this she's playing a doting mother sort of thing, and it's sort of it's not. It kind of feels like it's not really a challenge for her. Whereas Person of Interest, when she's playing unhinged characters, she's great, but
yeah,
she's not really unhinged in this. She's just playing a mum.
Okay.
It's not really working, but. I'm kind of liking it. It's a good show. I'm hoping it gets renewed because it's certainly on a par with everything else. In fact, I'd actually say it's better than some of the DC shows.
Probably.
In terms of the characterizations and situations and whatnot. The characters are likable, and I'm kind of into it. So I'm hoping it gets renewed. If not, I'll be kind of disappointed, but not overly disappointed because it is on Fox anyway. So
no, the Marvel show I'm kind of looking forward to is what I'm getting from the bits and pieces of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this coming season look interesting.
Yeah, when's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back?
December 1st.
December 1st. Oh, cool. So it's going to be running through Christmas by the way.
Yeah. Their production schedule got confluid this year. They didn't even make it to Comic-Con. Their first Comic-Con was actually New York Comic-Con. So
that might actually end up doing them a favour. It
might.
I mean, it could hurt them as well, but it could end up doing a favour. So
I'm looking forward to it. Just if for no other reason than because it's got to be an improvement over Inhumans. I won't belabor the point, but Inhumans, which I actually got all the way through, was unfortunate.
I didn't get past episode 1. I couldn't watch it. The high point for me was the guy from Game of Thrones. I thought he was really good in it. But
he was really good, and Anson Mount, who played Black Bolt, was really good. And because I'm the unapologetic audience for anything that even vaguely resembles a super pet, I absolutely adored Lockjaw. But the rest of it was not cool.
Yeah, well, I watched the first episode of that. I couldn't really give it any more time after that. It was just slow, boring, uninspired, and nothing really happened.
Yeah.
I've seen soaps with more happening than that.
I have too, and I don't even like soaps.
But I'm looking forward to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because obviously last year we had that great cliffhanger. I really want to see where that goes.
Yes.
And plus, I like hanging with that group of characters.
They're interesting people, and I really like the fact that over the years they've actually developed into interesting people. Because season 1 did not hold very much promise for most of those characters except for Coulson.
Yeah.
And
well, except for Coulson, then they killed off the character that me and you liked in the forget his name. They brought him back last season for that.
Oh yes, blanking. It's
yeah, I'm blanking.
Ward, Grant Ward. Yeah.
No, not Grant Ward.
Oh, Tripp.
Yeah, Tripp.
I missed him. I wish they could have him back.
I've got to be honest, I wasn't a fan of Grant Ward at all, to be honest. Too much of a stereotype. It didn't really do anything for me. But, that said, he's been a part of it for so many years, so it's logical that they'll bring it back last year somehow.
Yeah, the one thing I appreciated was the fact that they actually gave him an exit arc, which is more than they did for Sylar on Heroes. Sylar, they just overused. Grant Ward was sort of the Sylar of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they knew when to actually quit. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and what happens. I mean, I'm kind of realistic in that this is probably going to be their last season. So
probably is, yeah.
But
that's okay. That's okay though.
It's okay because this will be their 5th season, and I think 5 seasons is actually pretty good for a show. Yeah,
especially considering that the show was really only built to be a tie-in vehicle for the movies anyway, if we're realistic. So.
And plus, it was always, it's always been on the cusp of cancellation every single year.
Yes.
So it's done well to get back to reach 5 seasons.
Yeah. In fact, I think the reason it's lasted, the only reason it's lasted this long is because Marvel wouldn't let it be canceled. So.
Yeah. So moving away from DC comic books and whatnot, we've got the Librarians coming back on the 13th of December.
Oh, thank you, God! That's the show I've been waiting on.
Oh yeah, and it's I've read somewhere this year that they're going to be, they're going to be a bit more eclectic this year in terms of it's not going to be one whole arc. I don't think it is. They're going to be sort of dipping into different mythologies.
Awesome. I also liked the fact that they're bringing in John Noble as one of the villains. So.
Yeah, that could work. That could be pretty good now that he's free of Sleepy Hollow and that show.
Yes. So
personally, I'd love them to bring, to somehow try and bring back the guy that was a villain in the first season, Matt Frewer.
Oh my God, yes, especially since because here's the thing, you can't introduce Crazy Lancelot and Disenchanted Sir Galahad and Judson as Merlin and Charlene as Nimue or whatever they were going for there, and not actually at some point actually just straight up give us in maybe a flashback episode their version of the Arthurian legends.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see that, and she wasn't Nimue, she was Guinevere.
Okay, ooh, even better. Okay.
Although Nimue would have been really, really interesting.
The reason I thought she was Nimue is because she was the love of Judson, and Judson was established as Merlin. So.
Nah, she's Guinevere.
Okay. That would explain Galahad's reaction. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, it's I'm just really looking forward to that show generally. Because again, it's another group of characters that I hanging out with.
Yes.
I even like the Thief, the Australian guy.
Yes, they're all growing on me. And,
but the Thief was the one that I had issues with to begin with, because I thought it was going to be kind of a little bit too shallow. But over the period of the last few seasons, he's really grown.
Yes, he has.
Quite a bit of depth to him. Whereas he started off with very, very shallow beginnings. I always liked Stone.
Yes, Stone was perfect. It's perfect.
One of the episodes they have coming up, and I should imagine this will be quite an early one, is they're going to run into Santa's brother.
Yes, that'll be fun.
I just hope they'll bring Santa back as well, but I don't think they'll be able to get him from Ash vs. Evil Dead. But it's fun seeing.
Oh, that's right. Because oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, he's busy. Crap. That would have been awesome.
But that was an awesome episode of the first season way back there.
It was.
I loved that episode. But Santa's brother, I wonder who to get Santa's brother. I mean, if they had the money to do it and if he was available, to get Paul Giamatti, couldn't they?
Oh, he would be perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Because he played Santa Claus in that film, Fred Claus.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he did.
So I think he'd be brilliant as Santa's brother. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that episode, and I should imagine that'll be sort of like one of the early episodes they show.
Yeah, because they're coming back right for Christmas, just about. So
it'll probably literally be Christmas week by the time they get around to showing the second episode. So
yes, yeah,
it's going to be that's going to be a fun ride. So let's close the show out now with some Star Trek stuff. Should we talk about Star Trek Continues first?
Please, we need to address Continues, especially because of Discovery and Orville. So.
Well, we'll just do Star Trek Continues and Discovery. We'll skip the Orville.
Okay, because I'm not even watching that anymore. It's interesting because the Orville had the structure right, but I didn't like the characters. And Discovery has an interesting story and interesting characters, but they're still not Trek. So it's.
I think the characters are actually, the stories are getting more Trek on Discovery.
A little bit, but it depends on how much you liked Deep Space Nine.
I love Deep Space Nine.
Okay, that explains it, because there were parts of Deep Space Nine that I only kind of tolerated. So
I absolutely love Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was the best modern Trek show.
That explains it.
I loved Next Generation, but I did have a few issues with it because there wasn't really, anywhere near as much conflict between different characters as they should have been.
Yeah.
But I did love the storytelling on across all the shows. I just feel with Discovery, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but they say that they're taking this edict out where Gene Roddenberry said that the characters cannot be in conflict with each other. Now that thing only came into play during Next Generation, because if you look at the original series,
they were in conflict.
They were in conflict. They were in conflict, but they were respectful and they were friends.
Yes.
I mean, if they weren't in conflict, you'd never have had Bones calling Spock a green-blooded son of a bitch and stuff like that.
Yeah, and putting Star Trek aside specifically, that template of Kirk, Bones, and Spock is the bromance template. That's the template you need to go by if you're going to write that kind of thing well. So,
well, I think
it matters.
I think we're getting that template in a little bit with Burnham, Tyler, and Tiggy.
That's assuming that Tyler isn't a mole. But that's another whole other conversation.
That's going to be blown out of the water because Tyler is a mole.
Yeah.
There's no disputing or hiding that now, based on what we're seeing in the finale.
No.
Let's go to Continues first, because I know that you really want to talk about that. I watched the final two episodes where
I finished up weeping. I actually cried.
I didn't, but there again, I'm a man and I don't shed tears for nobody or nothing.
The thing is, structurally, you could kind of tell that the deaths in the final episode were going to be the deaths because they're not characters that carried over to the original series. But even though you kind of knew it was coming, the specifics of what they went with were just gut-wrenching in the best way because they got the deaths they deserved.
I kind of knew the council was going to buy it. As soon as Spock met her go over to the ship, I knew she was going to buy it.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going. I kind of figured it was going to be a transporter accident, which is something we've not seen on Discovery yet. But we'll move back to that later on.
No.
But the whole transporter thing was quite jarring, and I got to admit, I was getting a little bit emotional with that, and I thought, for God's sake, we end this scene already.
Yeah. The most impressive death, though, was Lieutenant Smith, because she was a character. When they mentioned her holding Mitchell's hand in that pilot, there was a blonde named Smith holding his hand in the pilot. Mm-hmm. They kept that character, and to have that be her end was the ultimate fan nod, because that's called continuity. That's continuity the hard way.
It's quite clever that as well, because they've used a character that was only on screen one time in the original series, and they've actually given her quite a long run throughout. The whole of her continues.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I just really enjoyed it. I loved the way that they went back to the sort of like to where no man has
gone before. Yeah. In fact, in an interview I listened to, Vic Mignogna spoke about the fact that in terms of the special effects for the cloud that they go into to become elevated, that cloud was created with the same special effects that they used for the original series. Mm-hmm. they went back and figured out how those special effects were done with the original equipment.
I also love the fact that they brought back the Romulan commander, and they got the actress's daughter.
I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome.
I mean, she looks so much like a mother as well. It's just, you could put them two side by side, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
No.
So nice. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and the actress Amy Rydell spoke about the fact that when she took the role, she was actually the same age her mother was when she originally had the role.
Wow.
So it's full circle and the most awesome. I mean, Star Trek Continues is how you do fan series. I mean, I fell in love with them when I saw that they had gotten Michael Forrest back as Apollo in the very first episode. I'm like, holy shit, these people care.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and the other thing I've enjoyed about is their consistency with the casting. They've not recast anything, whereas on the Star Trek Phase 2, there was a rotating door of casting where you'd have different actors coming in to play Sulu and other characters.
Oh, that would have been, I never watched it, so that would have been annoying for me. And I hate that.
That was kind of jarring, and there was also James Corey's Kirk impersonation, which was, it just sounded like the stories that they did were excellent, but I felt the acting was ropey at times with Phase 2.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Continues just edged it on consistency.
Yes. Yeah.
And but that said, consistency, the actors, they're all professional actors, aren't they, in Continues, whereas...
Yes, yeah, and you can tell that Vic Mignogna recruited most of them at conventions. Mm-hmm. It's like they were, the actors on the convention circuit, and it was awesome. I thought that it was very wonderful. These final episodes, I've got to say, Nicola Bryant absolutely crushed it as Lana in the final 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not that familiar with her work beyond Perry for Doctor Who, so it was really cool to see. It was really cool to see her in something else, and to have her play the baddie like that was kind of awesome.
She's a damn good actress, Nicola Bryant, but unfortunately people don't get to see her on TV that much because she's mostly theatre.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that she actually hurt her back.
She did. I've seen her at a convention a number of years back, and she was walking with a cane.
Yeah, that explains why she's doing so much Big Finish. Apart from the obvious fact that she's connected to Doctor Who, it's a gig that allows her to sit and stay still. Yeah.
But, she's I've seen her at a convention, and my experience of meeting her was generally pretty good.
Yeah, I
didn't really have that much interaction with her back and forth, because obviously, at conventions with fans and stuff like that, you're not going to get a great deal of interaction unless you've got connections on the inside, sort of thing. But my general experience of her, she was really, really good and pleasant with the fans and stuff like that, and she was even getting up on the dance floor, and doing the time walk and everything,
Oh wow, yeah, she must have been feeling good that day.
So she's sort of like, and to be honest, I think when I did see her, the back injury, she was sort of like coming towards the end of her rehabilitation. She was still using the cane a little bit, but not that much. But yeah, I mean, I didn't even realise it was her until I looked at the casting afterwards, and I thought, bloody hell,
Yeah. Yeah.
She's looking damn good for her age as well. She
is. And I love that we got Colin Baker in that earlier one, and in the White Iris one. Yeah. So. Yeah.
It's been a brilliant series. I mean, I like the. I was a bit shocked that we got the final one so soon after the penultimate one.
Yeah, I think Vic Mignogna, in that interview that I heard that I was talking about, he talked about the fact that the reason he chopped it to 11 was partly because of funding issues, and partly because of the fact that the edict came down from CBS after the Axanar fiasco. Mm-hmm. He would have tried to do 13 if he hadn't felt the fact that he was on borrowed time once the Axanar guidelines came down.
Yeah, I'm just hoping the Axanar guidelines don't remove any of the fan series that have actually already happened, because obviously these things have their fans, and the fans are going to go back and watch them and rewatch them.
Yes.
And, I'd like them to be out there in perpetuity for fans to go back to.
Yeah, I think think they'll leave Mignogna alone because he's talked about the fact that he's very specifically got 503C status and actually tried to do it the right way. My one quibble is that because he was cut short, the original plan was 13 episodes instead of 11. I would have loved to have known what those episodes we didn't get would have been about.
Well, maybe I can get him on here and interview him again sometime.
I hope so, because he's doing an original project for which he actually needs commercial funding. And I kicked him in for a 5 or 4.
Yeah, is that about the train?
That's when the train stops. It's a Twilight Zone-esque short film.
Yeah, I've actually been approached with offers of interviews, and
let's go ahead with that, because that will allow him to do both, talk about both projects.
Well, yeah. I've wrote them back, and I've not heard back from them yet. So what they said they had someone approach us on our Facebook group.
Cool. Yeah, I kicked him a 5 because if Star Trek continues as anything to go by, this original project involving some of the same cast is gonna rock. So.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the way they ended it. It was actually really, I loved the way that, Vic Mignogna, he became Admiral Kirk and he wore the new uniform. And we had those final scenes with Spock and McCoy, which tied in perfectly to Star Trek Motion Picture. And what I actually did is, as soon as I finished watching the finale of Star Trek Continues, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to pop Star Trek the Motion Picture in now, because it just sort of like, it fitted perfectly.
It fitted perfectly. Now they put thought into that from beginning to end, and the fact that the love showed through and the care showed through, and there's a level at which, as interesting as Discovery is in its own right, there's a level at which I'm actually preferring the independent stuff and the fan produced stuff to the corporate stuff at this point with some of these franchises. And I'm sorry that the whole thing with CBS even came up.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Max and Ra hadn't come up and done what they did, the fan films would have been left alone.
I think so too.
It was just the fact that he raised millions of dollars and he used it to open a new studio and stuff like that. It was just really stupid.
Yeah, no, it's one thing to do stupid stuff, but it's quite another to harsh other people's mellows in the process, and our mellows have been harshed. And I'm hoping the folks at Axanar have learned some valuable lessons, because we know that the folks like Mignogna learned those lessons the hard way. I just hope the folks at Axanar learned their lessons. And
Mignogna didn't bring learning lessons the hard way. Mignogna approached them the right way from the get-go.
True.
Also, the fact that Mignogna is actually in the industry has got to have helped him as well.
True.
Because he would have known from experience, from having worked as a voice actor and as an actor and stuff like that. He would have known the legalities of what he could do and what he couldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the fact of the matter is, so like Star Trek Continues and Vic Mignogna, I mean, I think James Kerwin wrote a few episodes of it, and James Kerwin's absolutely an awesome writer.
Yes, I absolutely. I've seen some movies that he did. Tomorrow never. Yesterday.
Yesterday Was an Eye or something like that.
That was it. Yesterday Was Alive. It was absolutely beautiful, and he's done some good stuff. So yeah, Kerwin was awesome. I also appreciated the fact that Vic Mignogna himself had some hand in every one of the episodes, even if he didn't write every word himself. Mm-hmm. And that continuity of vision really helps.
It's just been, it's been like a true extension of the original series. I've really enjoyed it, and I think generally the fans have to.
And I'm going to let some time go by, but assuming the episodes stay up, I'm going to rewatch them from beginning to end at some point.
Yeah, I'm gonna, maybe during the Christmas holidays, maybe have a bit of a binge watch if there's nothing on. Which more often than not, there is nothing on over Christmas, because Christmas has been ruined now for me. Because back when I was a kid, we didn't have satellite TV or cable. So we'd get all these new movies over Christmas, and I'd spend the entirety of Christmas watching all these new movies that I'd seen at cinema or hadn't seen yet. Whereas now, by the time Christmas comes round, I've seen everything. So there's never anything on Christmas. But but there we go. But moving from continues now, which actually, was perfect sort of like middle chapter between the original series and Star Trek Motion Picture. Let's go to continues and talk about the finale of that and all the various conspiracies that are going around. Because I got a feeling they're going to do where no man has where no one's probably gone before. With Stamets and his spot drive thing.
Something is wrong. And the one issue I had with that was that they telegraphed it too much. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, you're milking it. Just have the accident. Do whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no logic to him making that other jump.
No, none.
They should have just had him have the accident or have whatever happened on the last of the 133 jumps, and that would have made more narrative sense.
It would have.
I mean, the scene at the end where you see Tyler being basically raped by the Klingon.
I don't think that was rape.
I don't think that was rape. I think he was stung.
Yeah.
No, it's not stung, isn't it? It's I forget the thing.
I blanked. Yeah.
I blanked.
Keeping track of all the names. But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But I think he was a Klingon, and all the torture as well, because we don't really get a proper look at the face of him while he's being tortured. So.
No, and the first thought I had once, because the whole the cold Klingon mole thing hadn't occurred to me, but once it came into view for me, I'm like, are we going to get a scene with the tribble? Mm-hmm. Because we know that Lorca has at least one tribble that he keeps, and you have to believe that he keeps that tribble because it has the calming effect on the nervous system, sort of his medication.
Well, I've actually got another theory that's going to blow your mind.
What?
I don't think Lorca's from this universe. I think he's from the mirror universe,
and that's why he's so keen to get elsewhere.
Yeah,
that could work. That could work.
And it's also the whole footing of Discovery. It's meant to be a science vessel, and he's turned it into a war vessel.
Yes.
There's also the scene where he's bumping uglies with Admiral Cornwell.
Yes.
She notices some scars on his back which weren't there in her prior meeting with her. And from what we can gather, that relationship's kind of like pretty on and off anyway.
Yes.
So I've heard this rumor's been going around. It's another theory that's going around that Mark is from the mirror universe.
Yeah, that could work. You know something's going on with Lorca, because even beyond the damage that he's copped to with Cromwell, you know that there's something more going on.
You mean
if only because they cast Jason Isaacs, something more is going on. Because he would not have taken the role if it were just standard starship captain. That wouldn't have interested him. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be more. So there's fallout. But I'm wondering with the Klingon mole if we're actually going to get the Tribble reacting to him before anyone else does. Because I don't think we've ever seen him in the same room with the Tribble.
It depends on whether that Tribble is from our universe or the mirror universe.
True.
Because it's in the captain's office. It's probably from the mirror universe. It's probably a mirror universe Tribble.
Yes.
Because the other question is, if he's got that Tribble in his office, how come he's not got millions of them by now?
That's the other thing. What's he doing? Because they're born pregnant. Where the hell are the others?
Unless it's a Tribble that he's had neutered or something. But it's sort of like if the solution was so simple, McCoy would have figured out how to neuter the Tribbles in Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah, no, it would have been done because this was prior to that. No, something's going on here. Something is off. Beyond even the Klingon mole, I'm getting the feeling that by the time this is finished, the Klingon mole is going to be the least of their problems.
Yeah, it's. Also the look of Klingons as well, and everything else. It's sort of like there's quite a lot of. I've got a feeling it's going to be. Before we're through, there's sort of like going to be so many of the conspiracies are going to resolve that we're going to end up with more conspiracies, and that's what's going to happen to series 2. I'm actually quite enjoying it from that point of view. From the point of view that all these conspiracy theories, surrounding it.
Yeah.
So in that sense, in that sense, I've actually really enjoyed the series, even though to you personally, it's not very Star Trek. I kind of dispute that because, they've not got the right uniforms for the time period, but we don't know what they were wearing 10 years before Kirk.
That's true. Yeah.
And when we meet Captain,
Giorgio.
No, not Captain Giorgio. When we meet Captain Christopher Pike, we don't know if that's 10 years before or 5 years before Kirk.
That's true. That's true.
It could be 5 years before Kirk, and the uniforms may have looked like they're looking now on Discovery. Or they may not. We don't really know that. Obviously, the level of technology on the ship and stuff like that, and the things like holograms and stuff like that, we didn't have in the original series, sort of thing, but they're always going to have problems with this. They ran into the same sort of issues with Enterprise.
Yeah. I didn't particularly like Enterprise very much either. So, although Deep Space Nine was better than Enterprise by quite a bit.
To me, Deep Space Nine was probably the best of the modern Trek series. Irrespective.
In terms of character dynamics, certainly. Yeah.
In terms of character dynamic, the whole emissary arc and the Dominion arc, although.
The fact that they got Louise Fletcher as Kai Wynn, I'm like, holy shit, that was massive.
Yeah, I mean, she was way well known for One Girl Who's Nest, wasn't she?
Yes, yeah.
So there is that. Also you had quite a few Broadway actors in there. You had Rene Auberjonois, who's an outstanding actor.
Yes, yeah. No, they had massive actors. That elevated everything. So I enjoyed the performance level stuff and some of the individual character dynamics. Sometimes it got a little too dark for me. That was understandable. I think it was supposed to be the darker series. Yeah.
The actors they've got with Discovery are fantastic as well.
Oh God, yes, yeah, and a lot of them are staged because it's good stuff.
If you look at Star Trek Voyager, the only two actors that had any sort of like pedigree for stage really was Kate Mulgrew and maybe Bob Picardo and also a lot of the actors. I think Voyager was from the modern Trek perspective, Voyager was a weak link.
It was. They meant well and they tried. They didn't quite get there.
Yeah, they're kind of trying to straddle the fence between Star Trek the original series and Star Trek the Next Generation, and it didn't quite work. And they kind of they bought the bargain and weakened them even further as a young villain.
Yeah, villain decay is never a good thing.
It was villain decay 101 in that respect, that they kind of humanized the Borg too much. But that kind of happened with TNG as well. And Hugh led that rebellion of Borg and stuff.
Yeah.
We never really seen that get resolved.
No, we never did.
But it's just sort of like I don't know. Discovery, I've really enjoyed the first.
It's growing on me.
I've enjoyed the first 9 episodes. I went into it cautiously, as you know. I mean, I was kind of like a bit skeptical because of the look of the Klingons and everything else. But I think the writing has overall been pretty good. If you ignore the fact that the spore drive isn't really real science. That's bordering on the ridiculous. Is a spore drive, but what I want to see is I want to see an episode where they have quite a bad transporter accident.
Yeah, they need to have that because transporters are twitchy under the best circumstances. I mean, there's a reason why they established McCoy as absolutely loathing them. Mm-hmm. It's because he had either direct or indirect experiences of the system just completely going wrong.
Yes. And they have the transporters, to their credit, in the Enterprise. They have the transporters as a being twitchy in that as well.
Yes, because they were newish. Yeah.
In Enterprise, we were already using them really for cargo until they started using them for each other. So.
Yeah. And then that was only under duress. Yeah.
But it's just I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to see how it's all resolved and see where it ends up. And I'm kind of just hoping that the writing gets better and better.
I think it will. I'm upset that Brian Fuller had to leave, but I think he established enough in terms of the basic mythology before he left that they can work through it.
I mean, I'm just wondering what the second season is going to be like, and who's gonna be returning.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because Brian Fuller's original concept was an anthology series where they would get one season arcs, throughout Star Trek, throughout Starfleet history.
Yeah, I think he wanted to do one in 10 years before Enterprise, 10 years before the original series, and do stuff between the original series and Next Generation and stuff like that.
Yeah, he got overridden, and so what we're left with now, what we're watching now, is a series where CBS decided no, we're going to keep with the same set of characters. So I'm hoping that the writing remains strong with the second season, if only because Fuller's original plan wasn't for a second season per se with these characters.
I think Lorca's going to be, Lorca's probably likely to be downgraded and reckoned to recurring.
He'll have to be, because I can't imagine Jason Isaacs staying for very much longer. He doesn't do regular series work as Americans understand it.
And also, I'm not sure whether Burnham's going to stick around or not.
Yeah, her arc is going to be interesting because she was rightfully convicted for life for treason. So her ending point is, unless she's killed, her ending point is whatever's left of her life in prison. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much farther that can go.
Not unless her actions in dealing with Marker and whatever redeems her in the eyes of Starfleet to the point where they recommission her as an officer. But
that could happen, but it's going to have to be massive. It's going to have to be massive. And you're right, whatever it is will probably involve downgrading Lorca, because even if we're wrong and he's not a mirror universe version of himself, the fact is that Cromwell's reaction to what's going on is going to downgrade him, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's Cornwell.
Cornwell, yes.
Not Cromwell.
Cromwell, I'm thinking Cromwell because of Star Trek First Contact. Yeah, it's Cornwell.
Well, Cromwell was also an uppity roundhead.
Oh, that's true.
That tried to dethrone, successfully dethrone the monarch.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Admiral is, even if we're wrong in terms of the conspiracy theory, the Admiral has it in for him for legitimate reasons, and I think she's going to have a huge say in what happens going forward once they get back from this. And who knows, if he's not from the Mirror Universe originally and he just did this to delay, because you notice he went into that final jump manipulating Stamets in that final jump once he found out that the Admiral was going to survive. And he knows the Admiral has it in for him. So maybe he figured the final jump or whatever was going to happen would delay them enough to keep the Admiral off his back for a while.
Yeah, I don't think the Admiral was going to go into act right away, though.
True.
She seems to be quite clever on this Cornwell, and I don't think she's going to act as decisively as you may think she's going to.
True.
I mean, I just, I've got a feeling that if Burnham isn't kept around, she's going to be killed. And the reason I think that is, why did Spock never mention that he had a half-sister?
Because you would think that he would mention that. A human mother and a human half-sister. Yeah. Foster sister or something, That's a massive character beat right there.
Unless she was disgraced in the eyes of Starfleet and, sentenced to life imprisonment, I didn't want to talk about that.
That's the only thing I think of, but that still doesn't explain what her final fate is. Yeah, so yeah.
But, maybe a final fate, is to be written out, which leaves the question, who takes over Discovery into season 2?
Well, the interesting thing is when Stamets first started to really, really go south there, and he didn't know where or when he was, he looked at Tilly and called her captain. Uh-huh. And Tilly has been established as someone who wants to be on the captain's track. That's her whole big arc with Burnham, and why Burnham was trying to whip her into shape and stuff. So I'm wondering if after a few seasons, things shake out to where Tilly is the captain.
Can't see that happening myself. Unless they make her captain in the second season, they set the second season, so it's all maybe 2-3 years after her. So
which they might do, depending on how the degree to which they have worked out the overarching Bible for the series. So
I got a feeling that Saru might end up being captain.
He might, yeah, and poor Saru. I was so sorry for him. He's been just going through shit, even by the usual standards.
It's just something about Saru. They seem to have been grooming him to take the captaincy since the second proper episode.
Yeah.
After the previous.
Like his whole arc screams it. Yeah.
Whereas I don't think Stamets is going to be around.
No, and the actor who plays him, Anthony Rapp, is very much a theater person. He originated a role in Rent. Back in the day. So he's very much theater-oriented, and I don't know that he's going to want to stay around for a 7-year run.
He's in the movie adaptation of Rent as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, he was.
I think he was the guy with the glasses, right? The nerdy-looking guy.
That's... Because I think... Yeah. It's been a while, but yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all wraps up next year when back. And can't wait to see it. But obviously, I
think that whatever you think of the show relative to Star Trek, I think the show in itself is actually extremely good. And it's worth watching. Anyway, it would be science fiction worth watching in itself. So I'm very pleased with it on that level.
Absolutely. I mean, it's certainly a lot better than a lot of stuff that's been out. I mean, I actually rate it over the reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Yes, it's better than that. I had a lot of issues with the original, with that remake. They did a lot of good stuff, and then they did a lot of convoluted stuff, and a lot of stuff they didn't need to do.
Yeah. But, talking about reboots and stuff like that, before we close the show, I want to give a little plug to a new article that we're going to be running on Sci-Fi Pulse. And I was going to ask you whether you'd be interested in doing one of these. We're doing a serial of articles. It's going to start. Nick's going to start it off with Quantum Leap, and it's called Reboot, Reimagine, it's called Revive, Reboot, or Reimagine sort of thing. And basically, we make a case for a science fiction show of old, how it could be revived, or how it could be rebooted, or how it could be reimagined. But I'm doing a little plug for it right now, because the first one that we're going to be doing is about Quantum Leap. It's going to be doing that one.
Yes.
But it's going to be the idea is to run this every 2 weeks, so it's not going to be something that we do every week. Because obviously there's going to come a point where we run out of franchises to reboot, reimagine, or revive, or whatever.
Yes, the one I want to see again really badly is Manimal.
That'd be a good one, actually.
Yeah, because there are so many themes they could have done that they just didn't get around to say nothing of the improvements in technology. So
I mean, Manimal, he was kind of like born with his powers. As in, we have the hint now. He got these powers from this African island that he went to. We never see.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So that'd be a good one. I mean, it could also tie in with H.G. Wells and stuff like that. But that's a new thing we're doing on Sci-Fi Post.net. I'm not sure when the first one's gonna be ready. Nick and I still sort of back and forth in an email about it. And the general idea is, whoever writes the article, we choose whether we're going to reboot, reimagine, or revive, sort of thing. And it's just the one option that we go with.
Okay.
And we go with how it could be done, who we'd like to see cast in the various roles, and how we think it would work.
Okay.
So that's all for this week's show. So we'll see you again soon. We've got other guests lined up. Hope you enjoyed the show. We have we're going to be recording the year in review shortly after Star Wars. I'll have that coming up towards the end of the year. But for now, that's it for this week. So we'll catch you later. Bye.